Uhuru, comrades, and welcome to this webinar hosted by the Burning Spear newspaper, themed Free 'em All, the African People's Socialist Party's commitment to free political prisoners then and now. This event aims to raise Black August up as a widely recognized and celebrated tradition of the African nation. I am your host, as well as the Spear's editor-in-chief, Akile Anai, and I'll be taking you through tonight's jam-packed program. Black August has historically been the time where our movement highlights the many courageous acts of African resistance that occurred in the month of August. It's also a time where the Burning Spear newspaper, the Black Power journal that has consistently brought us news and analysis since its founding in 1968, raises funds for important projects such as our Mafundi Lake Sponsored Prisoner Program. We'll be calling on you throughout the evening to donate to theburningspear.com/donate. And by the end of this webinar, you'll absolutely understand why. Before we begin, I want to salute and recognize my leadership, Chairman Amali Ishatella, the leader of the Worldwide African Revolution, the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru Movement, and the founder of the Burning Spear newspaper. We have so much in store for you for this program, from cultural performances, meeting some of the faces of our staff, a key presentation from the president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and an opportunity for you to participate. So we're going to kick this evening off by acknowledging some of our current political prisoners locked inside colonial concentration camps for their courageous struggle against the colonial capitalist system. So if we could get that up, please. So of course we say free 'em all, the current political prisoners serving decades in prison. Next slide. So we have Dr. Mutulu Shakur, who's an active member in his community, participating in civil rights, the Black Liberation Army, and co-founding the Republic of New Africa movement. Known acupuncturist who dedicated his efforts to treating, quote unquote, rampant drug addiction among young Black people. Incarcerated in federal prison since 1986, that's 35 years, for the alleged killings of 2 cops and a security guard. Next slide. Comrade Sundiata Okoli. May 1974, Sundiata Okoli, along with 2 of his comrades, were ambushed by state troopers on the New Jersey Turnpike. This ambush ended with the death of Zaid Shakur, the injury and capture of Assata Shakur, and the subsequent capture and conviction of Sundiata Okoli. Okoli never renounced his political beliefs, so the state believed this 20 extra years would send a message. In 2014, Okoli was granted parole, but this was subsequently appealed and reversed by the state of New Jersey. Okoli will not be able to apply for parole again until 2032. Next. Assata Shakur. Shakur was in the same ambush that Okoli was at the New Jersey Turnpike and was convicted of the murder of a police. Assata Shakur was also involved in the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army. In 1979, she was able to escape prison and was granted asylum in Cuba by Fidel Castro. The FBI calls her a terrorist and murderer and offers $2 million for her capture. Assata is on the most wanted list. Next. Mumia Abu Jamal, Black Panther Party member who helped form its Philadelphia branch, later joined MOVE while doing radio journalism. December 9th, 1981, a police officer was shot dead after stopping Mumia's younger brother, William Cook. Abu Jamal was in the area, arrested and convicted, never admitted to the shooting of the officer. Sentenced to death in 1982, changed to life without parole in 2011. In prison since 1982, 39 years. Next. Jamil Abdullah Alamin, chairman of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and the Minister of Justice for the SNCC and Black Panther Party Alliance, organized for SNCC during the Mississippi Freedom Summer, studied at Howard University. First arrest, attempted robbery, 5 years, 1971 to 76 in Attica, and he converted to Islam. In 2000, a police officer was killed. 2 years later, Alamin was convicted for 12 other charges. Otis Jackson confessed to the shooting, but the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals rejected this as an appeal. He's been in prison since 2002, 19 years. Next. Aziz Abdul, part of the Virgin Island 3, serving 8 consecutive life sentences, tortured into admitting guilt and then imprisoned in 1972 when he was 23 years old. Accused of murdering 8 people in the US Virgin Islands, was a supporter of the Virgin Island independence movement, This was enough for the colonial police to apprehend, torture, and convict Abdul and his cohorts to life sentences for crimes they did not commit. He's been in prison since 1972, 49 years. Next. Russell Maroon Schultz, founding member of the Black Unity Council and later a member of the Philadelphia chapter of the Black Panther Party, became a part of the Philly Five when a cop was killed and another was wounded in a retaliatory attack on the police station. From August 1970 to January 1972, the capture and arrest, he was in the armed front of the new African Liberation Army, liberated himself in September 1977, recaptured in October 1977, and has been in multiple institutions in charge for more crimes he did not commit. Has been in prison since 1972, 49 years. Next. Leonard Peltier, serving 2 consecutive life sentences for the killing of 2 FBI agents for which he was set up. Peltier was a member of the American Indian Movement who was present in a shootout that ended with 2 dead FBI agents. Peltier went to Canada and the FBI coerced, tortured, and killed other AIM members to accuse Peltier of the crime. Canadian government extradited Peltier and he was arrested by the US government in 1977. He's been in prison since 1977, 44 years. Next. Ed Poindexter. In April 1971, Poindexter and a cohort were accused of the murder of an Omaha cop, a crime they did not commit. They were given life in prison, but not without parole. Poindexter was targeted because of his affiliation with the Black Panther Party. Ed Poindexter is now in his 70s and faces the risk of COVID, especially since there is a high transmission rate in prison. In prison since 1971, 50 years. Next. Rochelle Sink McGee. In 1955, McGee was sentenced to 8 years hard labor based on an alleged attempted aggravated rape on a white girl. Moved to Los Angeles in 1963 and was arrested again 6 months later over a $10 bag of marijuana disagreement. 7 years to life in prison for a bogus charge of attempting to kidnap someone to commit robbery for $10. On the August 7, 1970 Marin Courthouse rescue by Jonathan Jackson, McGee was one of the prisoners that aided Jackson and one of 2 people that survived that event. 1975, he was given life in prison and has been denied parole each time he's gone before the board. In prison since 1963, 58 years. So those are some of our comrades who are currently locked up in these colonial concentration camps called prisons. And these are our political prisoners that we fight for and raise up today in the struggle to defeat our colonial domination. So I just want to, again, recognize and salute those comrades, those heroes, and just recognize that we fight outside, on behalf of our brothers and sisters currently locked within these prisons. Want to just raise not just awareness of these comrades who are still locked up, especially during this time of, incredible mass resistance that we see happening throughout the world. And this question of who is a political prisoner is being defined while our brothers and sisters from this period are still rotting in these cells as we speak. So this gives even greater significance to the work of the Burning Spear, programs like the Mafundi Lake Sponsor Prisoner Program, so on and so forth. So uhuru to those comrades, and we say free them all. So our next part of the program, we're going to be starting off with some dynamic culture. And to fan these revolutionary flames, we have Comrade Indigo X, a member of the African People's Socialist Party, as well as, just a talented member of the African National Women's Organization, who has provided for us today some dope spoken words. So let's see Comrade Indigo X spit some fire for us.
Uhuru, comrades. I'm Comrade Indigo, a proud member of APSP and ANWO. I encourage everyone to sponsor a prisoner. For every time a prisoner holds that burning spear, they realize that there are people out here that relate and are fighting for what they're going through. The poem that I wrote is called Who Are the True Villains? Who are the true villains? Lawbreakers and offenders. Who's trying so hard to erase what we'll always remember? Came to our lands, we were new to guns and skin so white. Genocide, land stolen, our people raped and enslaved like those things were right. Our ancestors wasn't just giving up land, we will always fight. Now, colonizers are creating ways to get that out of our sights. Be bright. You know that all these resources are ours. We made everything, but they give us no power. Instead of power, their plan is to put us back in these cages. The population in these prisons of Africans are outrageous. The colonizers did the first crime, so our lawmakers are criminals. Mental visuals are critical. Locking us back up for them should be typical. They don't want us to see freedom, and that is cynical. We fought to get here. It's not just a miracle. The things done to us should not be forgivable. Give us our reparations. The 14 points makes this fixable. I'm a victim to the system made to build capitalism. So fighting for freedom should be a practical decision. Slave names be passing down, so we should have never forgotten. We built this land. Ancestors picked your cotton. We're supposed to benefit from the things that we build. So when is all of this to you going to seem real? To all the incarcerated Africans, I pray that we all see freedom. The colonizers need us, but we don't need them. Keep the fight alive by keeping the spear burning. Uhuru.
Uhuru to Comrade Indigo. Thank you so much. First of all, the colonizers need us. We don't need them. Go ahead and drop some fire emojis in there for Indigo. Salute Comrade Indigo. Thank you so much for that incredible spoken word. Again, just, kicking off the flames of this event. And Indigo is also on with us as one of our engineers. So just really want to salute this incredible comrade, Uhuru. And thank you for kicking off this program in such a dynamic way. So now we're going to go into the rest of our program. Really excited about this part. So this is a part where we get to see some of the faces that contribute to the success of this 50-year-old plus institution. I'm talking about the Burning Spear newspaper. These comrades will be presenting on different campaigns of the party where the demand to free political prisoners was front and center. First, we have Comrade Dr. Matsamela Odom, a staff writer and contributor to the African Resistance Now column, who will be talking about the party leading on the question of political prisoners. So welcome up one of our staple staff writers, Comrade Matsamela, talking about the party's history and leading on this question of political prisoners. Uhuru Matsamela.
Uhuru, how y'all doing? All right, so can you pull up the PowerPoint? All right, so, and then I'll just let you know when to change pages, but I would like to, begin by saluting my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, head of the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru Movement, also President Colin Bailly, and the net of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, of which you will hear from. As well, Director Attile and Danette, head of agitation and propaganda, our host for tonight. So I just really want to thank everybody for being here. I'm Dr. Matsamela Odom, and in this capacity, I'm a staff writer for the Burning Spear newspaper and frequent contributor of the African Resistance Now column published by Impediment, organization of which I'm also international vice president. I also serve as the director of cadre development. So switch slides. All right, so I'm happy for us to tell you all about the African National Prison Organization, an important organization. ANWO was formed. It's an important organization whose life theoretically was short-lived, but its impact was immense. It really was, and we'll talk about that for a little bit today. And if there's anything I don't answer, feel free to ask questions because the archives are immense. If you're interested in learning more about AMPO, go and purchase the book, Uneasy Equilibrium, which has a section called The History of Our Party, which talks about AMPO, ANRO, and some of the early mass organizing efforts of the African People's Socialist Party. You can also go to ufdc.ufl.edu and search the Burning Spear Archive at the University of Florida Digital Collections. So I'm happy to talk about this. AMPO was formed as a national at its national organizing conference in Louisville, Kentucky in September 1979. More than 100 people from 16 states and 26 cities attended AMPO's founding conference. AMPO was a national all-Black mass prison organization, quote, designed to launch an offensive against the use of prisons by the US government as a weapon of colonial oppression of African people. Now, according to the October 1979 article printed in the Burning Spear, that's what it was. AMPO marked an important moment in the development of the African Revolution since its military defeat of the 1960s. And very central to understanding the importance of AMPO is to understand that the United States suffered the African Revolution suffered a military defeat in the 1960s, which Chairman Omar Yeshitela has correctly classified as a counterinsurgency, which is a war without limits waged against African people internationally, right? So the founding of AMPO represented for the first time since the 1960s that African working class people came together to build such a mass organization. Now, there were many other organizations that had been built, you might say, but they did not represent the aspirations and the goals of the African working class as mass organizations. It's also built on the legacy of mass movement building led by the party. So it was a mass organization to develop to develop the tactics and strategies needed to free African people from U.S. colonial domination. And that's the important thing here, is that the APSP fights for reparations. The APSP fights against prisons and mass incarceration, but it's not an anti-prison organization in that sense, right? It's an anti-colonial organization which understands the role of prisons in the colonial domination of African people. And that underscores the importance and the legacy of AMPO. We can switch slides. So in 1977, Chairman Omali Yeshitela outlined the role of revolutionary leadership in mass movements, as well as the tactics and strategies for African independence. In the important document, The Political Aspects of Building a Mass Movement, the Tactical and Strategic Objectives for Black Liberation. It's in this document, originally delivered at University of Massachusetts Amherst and later produced in pamphlet form, that Chairman lays out 7 steps in winning our independence. The first is to win Black people to the position of political independence. Second is to establish the leadership of the pro-independence movement. Third is to win support for independence position within the US. Fourth is the creation of a dual and contending power. 5 is to expose the oppressive nature of US government and thereby constantly undermining it within and without the current US borders. 6, winning international support for African independence. And 7, to build an African People's Liberation Army. Now, when we see AMPO's importance, we see AMPO step by step achieving those goals. AMPO's mass membership and campaigns meant number 1. The party's leadership of AMPO meant number 2. The coalition of organizational representation that AMPO had gained meant number 3, theoretically. That was it meant number 3. Now we'll talk about some of those contradictions that emerge with some of these organizations and the way forward, through which I would argue the party now achieves these steps through the organization of 2 different forms of mass organization. One within the party or party-led, which is the International People's Democratic War Movement, and another which is the coalition work of the Black is Back Coalition. And if I have a little bit of time, I'll break down how I believe that AMPO helped expose the contradictions, and even exposing the contradictions that allow for us to understand the way through which that work has to be done separately. AMPO, the party and party institutions such as the Spear represent a contending force to colonial power. AMPO exposed the brutal nature of the U.S. government, and AMPO won international support by extension of the work internationally. We can see that in the Desi Woods campaigns, and as well as international solidarity within the U.S. borders from white North American community. There was an AMPO Solidarity Committee. AMPO was called a prison organization, not a prison organization, for a reason. It united Africans behind enemy lines with Africans living in the domestic colonies outside of prisons. It held up our imprisoned heroes as anti-colonial freedom fighters. And thus AMPO was an important point in meeting the 7 strategy or pushing us towards that 7 point of building an African People's Liberation Army. We need our freedom fighters to do that, right? But we also need to hold up them as anti-colonial freedom fighters, not simply just, I mean, so many were framed, many are innocent, but you know what? Some of the longest ones are in there precisely because they did what they were accused of, was fighting for African liberation. We see that with the Black Liberation Army, who promised that every time the police killed an African, they would act accordingly in response, right? So we know that these are anti-colonial freedom fighters who are locked up for their defense of African independence, and that's what we look at. So next slide on AMPO's influence. Now, AMPO was short-lived, but made an immense impact in the anti-colonial struggle for African liberation. The African National Prison Organization produced an organizational legacy that can be seen in the mass organizations under the leadership of the APSP, such as IMPEDUM and African National Women's Organization, as well as campaigns led by these mass organizations, such as the African Shark Genocide Campaign, African Reparations Claim, Black Community Patrol Police, and yesterday was a national day of action for the Arrest CPS campaign. AMPO's legacy can also be seen in the general popular resistance to mass incarceration that now exists throughout the world and the US. But much of the contemporary anti-prison movement finds its origins in the early to mid 1990s, at the moment on the eve in which the US prison population had grown to 1 million. This is the time in which even the term prison industrial complex was created. This is the moment in which the liberal left began to voice its objection to the growing prison system. But it was just years before that, literally just years before that, that the liberal left, some of them which are in the White House right now, actually made their name by advocating for increased incarceration of African people. African people were dehumanized as being super predators and things like that, right? So it's important to note that moment that this did not begin in the 90s, this began in the 1970s. I personally know that the APSP and its mass organization, AMPO, as well as the other main campaigns and organizations led by the party, made an impact on what is now known by many as the anti-prison movement. By some in the US and around the world, empirical evidence proves this. A simple search through the archives and private collections of some of the leading organizations in the US that identify as anti-prison organizations reveals a plethora of materials on AMPO, the Free Desi Woods campaign, the Walk Against Genocide, which is the precursor to the Uhuru Solidarity's March for Reparations, and on and on. So for many reasons, the organization, these organizations won't be named. Nevertheless, I will simply state that the material evidence is there of the Uhuru movement's leadership on these questions. Recently, Sanyika Shakur, known to some as Monster Cody, even though I do feel like it's important to always identify him as Sanyika Shakur, because Sanyika Shakur is the person who found political enlightenment by way of, amongst many sources, the Uhuru movement, in which he notes the APSP as one of some of the many places from the Black liberation movement that he had found political consciousness. He argues that they identified more with Malcolm and Black Power than with Martin and Negro civil rights. Cats were pushing the nationalist line, recognizing, if only rudimentary, that we were more of a nation inside of this empire than a disenfranchised minority of citizens of the empire, right? And that's Sanyika Shakur, who talked about that recently. So we can see the broad reach. The APSP organized a long-running journal, The Burning Spirit, which we're talking about, which sort of goes behind enemy lines and gets to thousands. But I would argue tens, if not hundreds of thousands people each month, so much to the extent that people talk about, the Burning Spirit being the Bible for incarcerated Africans, and people reading them until the papers crumble. This is undoubtedly what Sanyika Shakur is talking about, had reached him. And it's important to note that in our anti-colonial, anti-prison work, the Burning Spirit stands as the oldest institution that the party has right now in doing that, always being free to Africans who were incarcerated. We can see this also in the party's platforms, but for the sake of time, I won't go too deep into them, but nevertheless, and it's important to note out point 6 and point 7 of the party's platform, which demands the liberation and freedom for all Africans who are incarcerated, as well as political prisoners. It upholds the political prisoners as revolutionaries who fought for our freedom. So the next one is the next slide, please. Since the 1970s, the U.S. prison population has grown tenfold. The U.S. prison system was a crucial form of counterinsurgency, which we talked about. This is why the party's organization of AMPO was so important, and we've spoken about this, that it was a part of an anti-colonial strategy, right? But understand as an anti-colonial strategy with AMPO is important because it doesn't matter if there was 2,000 people or 2 million people. It's the political nature of prisons, which is what AMPO and we as the party organized against. So the campaigns to free Tucker, Connie Tucker, Joe Waller, now Chairman Omali Shatella, Pitts and Lee, Desi Woods, the Long March to Start, all of these were part of the APSP's upholding of the of African political prisoners. And as a part of that legacy to build AMPO. In 1975, the Burning Spirit notes of the party's creation of an organization called the African Anti-Prison Movement, which seems to be short-lived, but nevertheless, we can see that in 1975, the basis of what eventually became AMPO 4 years later. Then the pages of 1976 talk about the Black Prisoners Support Committee. In his political report to the 6th Congress, Chairman Omali Shatella wrote that AMPO was a vehicle through which the anti-colonial tendency of our movement could unite around practical work through collective leadership. In this way, we felt we could establish a unity so our political differences could be struggled around. And I'm at time. I'm gonna take one more minute and then I will be done. So the one thing, so in this, I want to just uphold AMPO as a part of a larger strategy, and we can see it as a larger strategy that is still a part of the organization building, the base building within Uhuru movement mass organizations such as Impediment of African Charged Genocide campaign. There was this, as early as the 1978, right? There was a series of local meetings, regional conferences, all used to build towards this initial conference in 1979. And it wasn't just theoretical. This is the outgrowth of mass movement because we understand as African internationalists, the thing is to go into mass movement and give leadership and direction. And that mass movement in 1979 was the movement to free Desi Woods, but also we can see the way through which the movement to free Desi Woods played an impact on other movements led by other organizations to free African women and other indigenous and colonized women who had defended themselves against rape and sexual assault like Desi Woods had done. So next slide on Mafundi Lake. So want to just, for the sake of time, uphold Richard Mafundi Lake on the first national coordinator of the African National Prison Organization, of which you can go to the Burning Spear in 2000 and find a 2018 article written on him, holding him up in memoriam by the late African internationalist hero, Omowale K. Fing, who talks about him and them being trapped in a car for 12 to 15 hours, traveling throughout the South, trying to organize AMPO, organize for African political prisoners, organize for Sundata Akoli. It's important to note that as Kay Fing notes that the work that the party did in Birmingham and other places didn't necessarily win Mafundi's freedom, but was successful nonetheless, because these was anti-colonial struggles once again, which rejects the ability to maybe liberate a few people. Or as I say here, the party fought to free African political prisoners as anti-colonial African revolutionaries, and not other slippery slopes that would win the release of a select few of incarcerated Africans at the expense of the many, which is what we generally see. AMPO was an anti-colonial organization. Now on the contradictions, the last slide. Now there are multiple contradictions which emerge mainly from the tendencies of the different organizations that were there. But the one thing that I will say is that even in those contradictions, we learned that emerged with ANWO. We learned different ways to mass movement build. One within the party by way of organizations such as Impedum, and another one is coalition building by way of things like the Black is Back coalition, of which we can talk more about. But I just want to just thank everybody for your time. And I went over by a couple of minutes. So, I love to answer some questions later.
Uhuru, thank you, Comrade Dr. Matsumela Odom, for this presentation, which I feel provides a really incredible and important historical context for all the discussion that we're going to be having today, putting the context to free political prisoners as work to advance the struggle against colonialism, and also talking about, this struggle in its inception and, how it has, transformed today, what it looks like today. So just really appreciate you bringing this to the floor. And I think, again, it provides a really important context for the rest of the presentations that are to come. So speaking of which, I would like to introduce Comrade Soliana, who serves as the production assistant for the Spear, as well as a senior proofreader, and she will be presenting on the party's campaign to free Pitts and Lee. So Uhuru, Comrade Soliana.
Uhuru, Director Akile, thank you so much for that intro. Whenever the slides are up, I'll begin. Great. Uhuru, comrades, sisters, and brothers, thank you so much for having me and joining us. I am Soliana Bakel, production assistant and senior proofreader for the Burning Spear newspaper, and I'm here to tell you about the riveting case of Pitts and Lee and the African People's Socialist Party's role in leading to their liberation. Next slide, please. So who were Pitts and Lee, right? So in 1963, Wilbert Lee was a 28-year-old pulpwood worker who lived with his wife in Port St. Joe, Florida. Freddie Pitts was 19 years old and in the Army, and he was stationed outside of Port St. Joe at the time. That's Pitts in the right, in the forefront, and then Lee on the left side, leaving the jail in the background. That's from the November issue of the Spear from 1975. Next slide. So this horror story started on July 31st, 1963, when two white gas station attendants, as well as the money from the station, went missing. This is also the same night that a group of soldiers, including Pitts, met up with Lee and went to the gas station to cash Pitts' GI check, right? So this was the only paper proof that they were there. There was an incident at the gas station because one of the women who was with the Pitts and Lee's group got into an argument with one of the attendants because they refused to let her use the white ladies only restroom. When the bodies of the attendants, their names were Jesse Burkett and Grover Floyd, were found the very next day, which was on August 1st, 1963, the police heard about this specific altercation and demanded to see the quote unquote colored people who were at the service station that night. The only thing that placed Pitts and Lee in that station, in that location, was the check that Pitts had cashed, right? But that was enough evidence for the police. So on the very next day, which was August 2nd, Pitts and Lee were under custody. Next slide. So before the African People's Socialist Party, APSP, was involved, right, the American justice system was revealing how arbitrary and unreliable it was. So in 1963, Pitts and Lee were sentenced to death, right? In 1969, the death sentence was vacated. And then in 1970, the very next year, the death sentence was reinstated. And then in 1971, Pitts and Lee were given a new case. And then in 1972, next year, an all-white jury re-indicted them, and they got the death sentence again, right? So it wasn't until 1973, 10 years after Pitts and Lee were locked up, that the Pitts and Lee Defense Committee, the PLDC, was formed. It was also in December of that same year, 1973, that the APSP officially adopted the Pitts and Lee case. Next slide. So the rest of 1974 and 1975 were dedicated to restlessly organizing marches, demonstrations, protests, and really agitating the Florida government and governor to look at the case of Pitts and Lee again and secure their freedom. Next slide. So in December of 1973, the APSP adopted the case, right, after the PLDC enlisted its help. This was also the time where the PLDC was, enlisting help from other organizations, but some would only adopt the case to get funds, but not really do any work to actually, free them. So there was a lot of tension there. It was actually because of this, right? Because of this issue that Pitts wrote a letter to the APSP demanding who gave the APSP, the quote unquote right to adopt his case. But he later, recanted and said that the APSP did not need permission because it was a case important to Black people. So the first Burning Spear issue of 1974, the one we see here, dedicated its first page to introducing its readers to the details of the Pitts and Lee case. So it was written that ever since Pitts and Lee were convicted, quote, evidence has surfaced showing clearly that the state of Florida railroaded the two Black men into prison after beating confessions out of them, alternately terrorizing and bribing a Black woman into false testimony. Next slide. So the article continues to discuss how poorly the police handled the case, right? So the article reads, the prosecutor successfully suppressed the testimony of Curtis Adams Jr. This was the white man who confessed to the crime, but he wouldn't testify unless he was given immunity. They also wouldn't let his girlfriend testify, even though her testimony would have definitely exonerated Pitts and Lee. They also suppressed the recording of the Black woman who was Willie Mae Lee, who was a witness that was threatened by the police by the electric chair and a chain gang if she didn't lie and say that Pitts and Lee committed the murder and robbery, right? So there was also no shred of physical evidence, no murder weapon, no nothing, just nothing. So nothing was fair about this trial, right? Some might even say that a fair trial is impossible under this justice system. Next slide. So this article declared that, this is from the February 1974 issue, it declared that it is obvious to most people that Pitts and Lee do not have a chance without mass support. So this is when APSP mobilized its forces, party members, Africans in the community, as well as other organizations to carry out, many events. Next slide. So one of the things that the party participated in was the letter writing campaign that was undertaken by the APSP and the PLDC, right? There were so many letters coming into the governor's office, the governor was Reuben Askew, that he actually asked a reporter, to hand over all of the materials they had on the Pitts and Lee case. On March 12th, 1974, there was also a demonstration that, started in front of the St. Pete police station, and then it ended up at what the Spear calls the white capitalist newspaper, the St. Petersburg Times newsroom. So, it was a big local event, right? And different institutions like the police and the media were being literally hounded by the masses, right? People understood that these types of institutions were an instrument of colonialism. Next slide. So one of the significant things about this case was that it united many different organizations, with a variety of ideologies over the goal of freeing Pitts and Lee, right? Granted, different organizations contributed in varying, degrees, but organizations like the NAACP was involved, and also even the Young Democrats of Florida was involved. So this 1974 Spear article reads that, quote, organizers placed emphasis on the Pitts-Lee case in an effort to advance the concrete struggle for African liberation from a practical place. Next slide. So this brings us to 1975. So right now it's been a year after the APSP took up the Pitts and Lee campaign. Next slide. So on January 7th, 1975, there was a demonstration at Askew's, the governor's, inaugural picnic, right? So this demonstration lasted 2 hours until Askew caved and met with some of the delegates. He actually met with our very own Chairman Amalia Shatella, and Chairman presented the governor with 5,000 signatures demanding their release, and even Amnesty International got involved and sent over upwards of 4,000 signatures. So this was an internationally known case at this point. Next slide. So on March 21st, 1975, another demonstration in front of a hotel the governor was in took place with APSP members and Africans from the community. So the governor, refused to leave the hotel, and he stayed inside, for the rest of the night. He only went there for a dinner, but he stayed there for the rest of the night because demonstrators were there for hours, refusing to leave until they saw the governor. And even that, a month before that, in February of the same year, the governor was also met with demonstrators at the University of Florida by Africans, demanding that he pardon Pitts and Lee. So right now the fight was to pardon them, right? A pardon implied guilt, but this was the fastest way, bureaucratically speaking, that Pitts and Lee could be freed. Next slide. So these are pictures from the April 1975 Spear issue showing demonstrators at University of Florida, as well as the governor's residence. The caption on the left, if y'all can see, it says, Askew stares stupidly aground when confronted, which I thought was pretty funny and I really wanted to include. So but the APSP, along with other prisoner support and advocacy groups, would not relent in literally chasing the governor wherever he may be, right? To force him to look at the case again and pardon Pitts and Lee, right? So this was the mass support that the 1974 article was talking about, right? So it was declared and then it was taken into action. Next slide. So the next big demonstration plan was on the 4th of July. So it's written in the May issue of that year that when the vast majority of US citizens, white workers, will be celebrating what is commonly recognized as quote unquote Independence Day, African people throughout the state will be participating in an APSP initiated demonstration to demand the freedom of political prisoners Freddie Pitts and Wilbert Lee. So it continues to say that the 4th of July March is a continuing struggle by the APSP to build support for Pitts and Lee, and that's exactly what it did. Next slide. So of course we have another big event, which was the August 16th, 1975 March to free Pitts and Lee, right? So in the July 1975 Spear announced the event, and it reads, the plight of Pitts and Lee is a part of the general condition that all working and poor people are experiencing in greater or lesser degrees. The African People's Socialist Party is soliciting support of the peoples of Florida and the entire United States in our attempt to free Freddie Pitts and Wilbert Lee and stem the tide of colonial oppression in the state of Florida. So this campaign was undertaken by the APSP, and the struggle to free Pitts and Lee was linked to the colonial system imposed on Africans within the United States, right? So the Burning Spear newspaper was a very crucial instrument in explaining to people, the masses, right, their involvement in the campaign goes beyond just freeing Pitts and Lee, right? The newspaper, the Burning Spear newspaper, was politically educating the people about the overall colonial implication of the prison system, right? And made sure that they knew that the prison system is a colonial instrument of oppression. Next slide. So this is from the September 1975 Spear issue, showing the demonstration that was undertaken by the APSP and other organizations in front of the Florida Supreme Courthouse. So this demonstration turned into a march, and people started chanting, today Pitts and Lee, tomorrow you and me, right? So people were dedicated, people were angered. Africans recognized, what this case meant for all Africans. And, the Spear played a really significant role in that. And 3 days after this Spear was printed September 15th, 1975. Can you get me to the next slide? Pitts and Lee were freed on September 19th, 1975, so 3 days later. At this point, Pitts and Lee had been in prison for 12 years for a crime that they were nowhere close to committing. Next slide. So these are photos from the November 1975 Spear article, which dedicated about 5 to 6 pages to the Pitts and Lee case, and it included the history and the work that was done to freedom. So the bottom left is Louise Brooks, that's Pitts' mother, after hearing that Pitts was released. And then right next to that, we have the governor signing the pardon. And the top left shows Chairman Amalia Chatella talking about Pitts and Lee at the African Liberation Banquet. And then right next to that is, Chairman and Angela Davis denouncing Pitts and Lee's incarceration at a press conference. And then the rightmost photo is Chris Burkett. That's the son of one of the victims, Jesse Burkett. And he himself actually wrote to the governor pleading to free Pitts and Lee, which, really shows you how outrageous this case was, right? Chris Burkett's father, was murdered. And even he saw that, justice was grossly miscarried. And I also want to say that, all of these are, from the archive Burning Spear clippings. They're open to the public, like Dr. Matsumello Odom said. So I encourage everyone to take a look if you're interested in the party's history or, history in general, because this is a great source. Next slide. So this brings us to the conclusion, right? So this is a quote from the November 1975 article, and it says, when understood, successful struggles like the Pitts and Lee struggle help people reach the correct conclusion of the real potential for revolutionary success and African independence. The slogan, independence in our lifetime, begins to take on a new meaning, and more people are able to join and support the revolution, for they can, quote unquote, sense it can be done, that we can win. Right, so this case teaches us that African people united under a certain goal or objective are really a force to contend with, right? We must understand that the same system that locked up Pitts and Lee in the 60s is the same one that still has Mumia Abu-Jamal, Sundayara Akoli, Mutulu Shakur, and many other political prisoners whose life has been taken away for a crime they did not commit, right? Their crime was loving their people and fighting for their liberation. So it's important to know who the enemy is and be a part of the fight to free these political prisoners, during and outside of Black August. Next slide. So once again, I'm Soliana Bakel, and with that, I leave you. Free Amal and Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Soliana. That was our production assistant and senior proofreader talking about the case to free Pitts and Lee that the party took up, and just really appreciate bringing this history to the forefront, which I think is really critical. And I just really appreciate also the links being dropped in the comments for people to actually access this history for themselves. And this just shows the real integral role that the Spear played and has played over the course of our history. So this is, ever more reason why we really have to support the Spear today. And so I just want to, again, encourage people to donate, theburningspear.com/donate, make a contribution to keep the Spear burning so that the work that the Spear did during this period can continue to be carried out for many more decades to come. So again, want to thank Soliana for this presentation. And we have, which also I think is really important to say, that campaigns like the one to free Pitts and Lee, were, as already been expressed, these issues bigger than just Pitts and Lee, but taking on the whole colonial capitalist system, the system that's responsible for, the imprisonment, wasn't responsible for the imprisonment of Pitts and Lee, but it's responsible for the overall conditions, the devastation, the despair that African people experience. And so a struggle to free political prisoners is a struggle to end colonialism and for African independence. So that is the central point of all of these campaigns that we're seeing. And when we wage these campaigns, it really defined the political terrain and questions, outstanding questions. The party was helping to explain this, sum this up through these campaigns. So just again, really appreciate being able to bring this history to the forefront. And we have one more historic presentation for you tonight. It's going to be delivered from Comrade Mads, who's a proofreader for the Spear, as well as a contributor to the White Solidarity with Black Power column and a member of the Uhuru Solidarity movement. Mads will be discussing the role of white people in the struggle to free political prisoners, pointing towards the party-led campaign to free Desi Woods as a critical moment in history, defining the relationship that white people would have with the African Revolution. So Uhuru, Comrade Mads, welcome to the program.
Uhuru, thank you, Director Akile, for that intro. And like Director Akile said, I'm on the Spear staff under Director Akile's leadership, as well as an occasional member or a contributor to the White Solidarity with Black Power column of the paper. I have the honor to take on this role as a member of the Uhuru Solidarity movement which is an organization that's created by the African People's Socialist Party as a strategy to organize the white community under their leadership for reparations to African people and fight for white solidarity with Black power. And I just really want to salute the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela for creating this theory of African internationalism to really solve the answers of the anti-colonial revolution and how white people as colonizers, fit into the work. And I just want to salute also the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, Penny Hest, who was the first white person to take a stand of reparations under the APSP's leadership. And my work on the Spear staff is a stance of reparations as a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And I want to salute my direct leadership, Chair Jesse Neville, as well as my direct leadership on the Spear staff, Director Akile Anai. And I'm just so honored to be speaking at this really important web event and fundraiser. I want to express my complete unity with the whole program thus far and my whole, complete unity with freeing all political prisoners from this colonial system. So you can go ahead and bring up the first slide. So the African People's Socialist Party, has been at the forefront of many struggles to solve the questions of the revolution, and one of them being, what do we do with white people? And in 1976, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the APSP formed the African People's Solidarity Committee, which is an organization of white cadre members under their leadership working for white reparations to African people and solidarity with Black power. And so in doing this, the definition of true solidarity was really formed for the first time, and no longer could us white people opportunistically control what issues to take on to solve oppression, even for ourselves, definitely not for others, whether it be the women's liberation movement or the gay rights movement, but to understand the liberation of Africa and African people, indigenous people and their land, and all colonized people as the key to overturning this system. That no matter what kind of oppression that we might face as white people, we still sit on a pedestal as colonizers with stolen land, resources, and stolen labor. And in order to see our true liberation, we have to join the anti-colonial struggle under the leadership of the African working class. And I just want to say also that Chairwoman Penny Hess was at this first meeting and she remains under their leadership. Next slide. So around the same time of the APSC's formation, the party was spearheading the fight to free Desi Woods. And Desi Woods is an African woman who in 1975 was hitchhiking with her friend Cheryl Todd to visit a family member in prison. And they were picked up by a white man, Ronnie Horn. And he picked them up not to get them, safely to their destination, but with intent to sexually assault them, as he stated on the radio as he drove off into the woods to carry this out. And Desi Woods then began to really struggle with him, acted in self-defense, and shot him dead with his own pistol, which ensured that Ronnie Horn would never assault an African woman ever again. And so for this act of African resistance, the two women were jailed and convicted. This incident was really co-opted by the white left in the form of the women's liberation movement and other white-led prisoner support movements. And white feminists attempted to redefine the fight to free Desi Woods as an act of patriarchy, or an act against patriarchy, and to sum up the struggle as, women versus men. And this was just a really opportunistic move by the women's movement to adopt an African women's struggle to then advance, their own agenda and to become equal with white men. And this leaves African women to continue to bear the brunt of colonialism and even psychologically separating the African nation into gendered categories pitted against each other. And the African People's Socialist Party really understands that all African people must be united and fought endlessly to really expose this unacceptable co-opting from the white left of this clear case of African people resisting colonialism. White men raping African women is a part of the genocide that colonizers inflict onto the colonized. And it was integral to the fight to free Desi Woods for people to understand that African people have a right to lead their own struggle, as their conviction was not an attack just on Desi Woods and Cheryl Todd, but on all African and colonized people. And this is really illustrated in a quote from the November 1978 Burning Spear article entitled, "Desi Woods is All of Us," that reads, Rape attacks against Black women by white men are not sexual acts, but tactics of colonial terror to keep a whole people terrorized. And so the message from the state was that if colonized people resist, they will be punished. So the African People's Solidarity Committee was formed around this campaign to free Desi Woods as sort of their first mission, to be behind enemy lines, to be Black power and whiteface as they organized other white people to be in solidarity with ending colonial violence. And the National Committee to Defend Desi Woods was formed by the APSP, and Solidarity worked under their leadership. So at this time, many of our still standing Solidarity members left the white women's movement to join the African Revolution. Next slide. And on July 4th, 1978, the National Committee to Defend Desi Woods led 2 national demonstrations, collectively known as the July 4th Movement to Free Desi Woods. The demonstrations held in San Francisco, California, and Plains, Georgia, raised the slogan, "Free Desi Woods, smash colonial violence." And here, Chairman Omali Yeshitela delivered his first large public speech, summing up the attempted rape of Desi Woods as an act of colonial violence targeting all colonized African people, and that the prevention of such atrocities against African women in the future can only be found with the freedom of all African people. And the chairman was really calling on the white-led movements to join under the APSP's leadership to not only free Desi Woods, but to free all political prisoners. Next slide, please. And the party continued to lead demonstrations to free Desi Woods over the years, as well as the Burning Spear delivering the news and updating to the masses. Desi's African identity influenced the public, as well as the inmates she was in contact with, and more white people joined under the party's leadership and left white-led opportunism for true solidarity under the leadership of the African Revolution. And then Desi was freed from prison in 1981. She's now known as Rashida and was involved in the Uhuru movement, including the African People's Child Care Collective, which she was featured in a photo participating in a 1983 issue of the Burning Spear. Next slide. And here's just a picture of the chairman speaking to a group of white people about, solidarity with Black power. And the fight to free Desi Woods was not only an important struggle to free a political prisoner, but also it really just drew the line harshly between the white left and white solidarity with Black power. And I just really encourage any fellow white people watching this to not see the struggle to free Africa and African people as any kind of sideline issue or a stripe in an inclusive flag or an intersectional issue, or something that we should just support. This is the key to liberating those of us in the white community who experience oppression as well, women, gay and trans people, etc. And we need to say that we don't want our rights at the expense of others. It must become our struggle under their leadership. And so supporting the Burning Spear newspaper supports the voice of the African working class, the only voice that really should be speaking about overturning capitalism, creating a global socialist economy, or freeing African women. And us in the white community can really embrace the Burning Spear as our primary outlet for revolutionary news. And, we can check the White Solidarity with Black Power column every month, as well as, the other incredible columns in the paper. And please just consider becoming a sustainer, a subscriber, and or a distributor of the Burning Spear newspaper. Support the African Revolution behind the colonial walls by giving to the Mafundi Lake Prisoner Subscription Program. And please donate at theburningspear.com/donate. My next slide, please. Also, if you are white, please consider joining the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, the mass organization of the African People's Solidarity Committee that is active in every region of the United States as well as internationally. And becoming a member is to really reject this opportunism of the white left and really understand our place in overturning this system and overturning our role as the colonizer. So go to uhurusolidarity.org and pay reparations as an act of material solidarity. Uhuru, unity through reparations.
Uhuru Mads, thank you so much for that incredible presentation around, white solidarity with Black power and the struggle to free Desi Woods, another important historic campaign led by the African People's Socialist Party. And I just want to say, I think the central theme of all the presentations that we've seen tonight regarding the party's historic role in the cases to free political prisoners, that party-led campaigns to free political prisoners with its conscious goal to win African independence has allowed for the party to solve these these outstanding questions that have had real implications for today, that solve those outstanding problems that we are, dealing with today, that we're seeing people, new to political life trying to grapple with. But the party solved these problems, and through these campaigns, which wasn't just something that we were engaged in to make ourselves feel good, or again because we liked a particular person or we thought a crime was more heinous than the other, but because we understood that the whole question of freeing political prisoners was tied to our overall colonial domination, and that the struggle to free political prisoners has to be tied to a struggle to end colonialism, end our colonial domination. And that, I think, is the central focus of everything that we've discussed up to now. So I just really appreciate Comrades Dr. Matsamela Odom, Comrade Soliana, and Comrade Mads for these presentations, this history that you cannot get anywhere else, that has been documented in the pages of The Burning Spear, which again is another reason why you have to support this paper. There's no news and analysis anywhere else that you can get like that of the Burning Spear newspaper, because it is the worldview. It prints the worldview of the African working class as we know it as African internationalism. So support The Burning Spear today. Go to theburningspear.com/donate throughout the program and make those contributions to keep the spear burning. So now we move from these historic presentations and we talk about what's going on today. And I'm really excited to introduce this next comrade. So when we talk about the party's demand to free political prisoners, we know it's an anti-colonial demand. The demand to release our people from these prisons comes with the recognition that these jails and the colonial court systems are illegitimate. African people have a right to struggle for power and self-determination, and we have the right to struggle against the oppressive military forces in our communities known as the police. We have a right and responsibility as colonized people to fight and end colonialism. To talk more about the defense of the democratic rights of African people, we welcome the president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, IMPEDUM, which was founded to defend the democratic rights of the Black community, Kalambayi and Danette. And just to say a little bit about Kalambayi, Kalambayi and Danette was introduced to the Uhuru movement and revolutionary political life through the party's intervention in the uprisings of Ferguson, Missouri in 2014, following the police execution of 18-year-old Mike Brown. Kalambayi emerged as a brilliant organizer in her hometown and now leads one of the African People's Socialist Party's international mass organizations, organizing the African working class into political life wherever we are in the world. This past year, she ran for St. Louis Ward 3 alderwoman against a treacherous sellout dynasty, mobilizing African workers in the ward to fight back against the oppressive conditions by the St. Louis government. Her slogan was Revolutionary Times, Revolutionary Solutions. She is also the column editor for African Resistance Now. Let's welcome and salute President Kalambayi and Danette. Uhuru Kalambayi.
Uhuru, Uhuru. I just really wanted to first appreciate this event and say free them all. My name is Kalambayi Antoinette, and as it has been said, I am the international president of the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement. I want to appreciate my leadership, Chairman Amala Yeshatela, and I would want to also appreciate Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshatela. I just really want to salute Director Akile Anai with a dynamic program that has been laying out historical history to really show you what the Vanguard Party is all about, which the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement is under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, which is really critical because we are not just any mass organization. IPDUM is a mass organization that fights for the democratic rights of African people all over the world, bringing African people, ushering them back into political life, turning the African working class into evangelists of revolution all over the world, salt in the earth, really helping us to understand what it means to fight back and get its revolutionary character from the African People's Socialist Party. So all of the historical history that we have just laid out here help us to understand tactics and strategy. Because it's not just, as it has been said, it's not just about, fighting for particular cases. Because as we know, African people, we got tons of cases of unjust of how horrible, horrific this system is. But it's very important that it never sell out the long-term goal of revolution, of complete liberation, and how African people are going to overturn this relationship. If we don't have that kind of strategy or that kind of understanding, then we will just simply just fight cases. We will be simply that same trio that comes into every city after every African murder. What happens? No one goes to jail. They don't stop killing our kids. We will simply just be that another organization that is fighting just for one symptom of colonialism, when the whole system reeks of genocide. And so that's why every campaign and everything that we do is a revolutionary strategy to win the masses back into political life, to understand exactly who their enemy is and who they are and what we have to do to attain our freedom. I remember when I met Chairman Amalia Yeshitela in Ferguson. I mean, I was protesting because of Mike Brown. Simply, I thought that I was very angry that they shot and killed this young African man. But the truth of the matter is they killed Africans before Mike Brown. And after Mike Brown died, right when Ferguson was going on, they killed Africans that name never lift up. So we know that it had to be bigger than Mike Brown. And it was. And when I met Chairman, it was just that. I heard him say colonialism. I heard him say that we are colonized people. And he started explaining colonialism. And I seen myself, such as you did too, to understand exactly what colonialism is. To understand that I remember having a baby and feeling like I had no rights to my own child and someone dictating to me what things I had to put in their body. I simply seen myself when I sat in the courtroom with the murder of my brother and they just let him free. I seen myself when I understood that, you know, that wasn't the only person that had murdered in my family. But those symptoms that I had experienced coming into political life gave me a deeper understanding of exactly what it is. So no longer am I just fighting because I lost my brothers, because one of my brothers went to jail, but I'm here fighting because Africa has been under attack for 600 years, and I've been a colonized individual since I've been in my mother's womb. And so that is very, this is why the International People Democratic Uhuru movement is so critical and so important to be everywhere. Everywhere African people are, we have to be. One of the things that EPDM and the African People's Socialist Party, we did is we ran 2 campaigns right here in St. Louis to really be able to show the Democratic right, to really be able to show exactly that the Democrat Party or the Republican Party is not our party. The African People's Socialist Party is our party, and really be able to expose exactly what the neo-colonial puppets do. And under attack from the gate, trying to use their social system to imprison me over petty things that he attacked and had me going to court for, and even tried to say that I was making an attempt on his life. So we see we have to continue to raise the struggle, to raise the contradiction, to really be able to help African people understand that it's bigger than just the ward. It's bigger than the 3rd ward, that we fought fierce fights about housing on our campaign, saying reparations to the African community, building the social movement, bringing the masses back into political life, deepening the contradiction and exposing this corrupt system. That is what EPDM mandate is. And as we've seen in these campaigns, it's so important. It's so critical for us to be able to move past just one individual case, but be able to use a case to expose the deepest contradiction in what is happening. Because if we don't do this, comrades, we would end up as opportunists, where we sell out the long term. What is an opportunist? Opportunist is somebody that will sell out the long term goal for a short term interest. in just getting one person out. It's not about just getting one person out. We have political prisoners, but we say the whole prison system is corrupt. That in the Burning Spear on page 10, which is my favorite page. Well, I love the whole spear, but it's a very important page of the Burning Spear. I'm gonna say it is my favorite page because when I came into political life, page 10 was literally my Bible. Those 14 points brought me into political life and told me what I want and what I believe. And in them points, it says that open up the doors and let all of them out. Because we, the African working class, got to decide who's in prison, who's not. This system reeks of our genocide, our blood. So it's so important for us to understand that mass organization is critical. It's critical to this whole thing. Using these campaigns, using the contradictions of Black community control of the police. This is a campaign, this is a struggle that we say that we're not asking for no body cameras. We're not asking anybody anything. We are demanding Black community control of the police. We are demanding reparations. We are demanding that this is genocide. Africans charge genocide. These are just a few of the campaigns that EPDM have raised. And tremendously, we have used campaigns around Measure O in the early Oakland days, around housing, all kind of different campaigns to be able to help the masses understand the democratic right is under attack. Is under attack, and to really help them, help the masses understand that the only solution is revolution. So these are some of the campaigns and some of the things that EPDM have done historically under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And I keep saying that because EPDM get its character and its leadership from a vanguard party that has strategy to everything that we do. So we not just, fighting because that's your cousin or we like that person or anything like that. And even with prisoners, we have one of our levels, George Jackson level, for political prisoners or prisoners, people that's in prison, period. Because we understand that we have to turn these prisons into revolutionary institutions where we have to help our brothers and sisters get the burning spear, bring them into political life, make them members of EPDM, and bring them into the party so they can understand the deepest contradiction of everything that's in our community. I don't care how they got there. Every single thing that's in our community has been placed in our community because we are colonized people. I know that's a lot because when I first came into political life, that point I struggled with. I read it a couple of times, like maybe they didn't mean all of them. But yes, this system is illegitimate. It can't hold anybody up. The very system that is saying that somebody belong in jail had to be tried itself by us, the people. That's why EPDM had at the Ferguson the Black grand jury. The Black grand jury was not a skit. This was the African working class being able to look at everything that happened, all the evidence, and coming to his own conclusion. People in our community, we seeing that we can police ourselves, we can have our own courts, and only then can we really say that we have justice. This system can't offer us justice. Even when we lose our loved ones, even when our car is stolen, this system could not offer us justice. And so that's why it's super critical. It's super critical that the masses come into political life. You have to join EPDM. You have to order the burning spear. You got to donate to this program because this is our organization. This is our burning spear. It is our time and we are winning. We see it throughout the world. We see the masses of people rising up everywhere, kicking America's butt. Yes, kicking America's butt. This once seen as superpower is being seen as very weak. And it's time for the African working class to be able to strike. When you see your enemy weak, It's no time. We don't have no tears. It's time for us to organize, 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 and organize for power. And so that's why the International People Democratic Uhuru movement was built. It was built because we seen what America had attacked. This social system had attacked our movement in the 60s, crushed it. We seen counterinsurgency. We seen how they murdered so many of our leaders. They didn't just kill King, they murdered King. They murdered Malcolm. They murdered our leaders. And then they threw our leaders in jail. We just list out names, and it's countless names that's not even listed that were thrown in jail. And this didn't just happen then, but we seen the continuation even in Ferguson. Even in Ferguson, Durham Seals murdered. No one knows what happened. And even after Durham Seals, a name that you might know, but countless others, like Michael Wilson, that was murdered right after Mike Brown was murdered. He was a protester. He just got out of prison. You know, he got political in prison, got aware of who he was. He was organizing on the grounds in Ferguson, and Jenny's police killed him right after Mike Brown died. So we see what this system will do. And this is why the masses have to have its own organization. It is our protection, and it helps us how to raise the struggle and bring us into political life to help us deepen our understanding of what we have to do as a people to build contented and dual power, to build a new world where African people are liberated and free. And through that, we say peace through revolution. And so I really, again, want to salute this program and just say how dynamic it has been. And, you know, we don't just do programs. We don't just have talking fests. We don't just come here and lay out things because, you know, it's a Saturday night and make you feel good. This is a call to action. We are calling you to action today. It's things that we have to do. We say fist up, fight back. After listening to all this, it should brought you to a conclusion. What do I do? Columbi, what do I do? Well, I'm saying that if you're not a member of the African People's Socialist Party, why not? If you're new to political life, then you have to join one of the mass organizations. And today is going to be a call to action, because where you put your money is where your heart is. So you can't say that you are outraged and you can't lift a finger. So you have to donate your resources to help further the call to this program right here. So this is a call to action. This is calling all of us to the forefront. Let's get free, comrades. Free them all. Let's fight like hell to get this social system off our back. That is the call. And I am calling all of you to the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement International Convention. We are an international convention because we are not just talking about prisoners at war here in the US, but we have prisoners at war all over in Africa, in South Africa, in Ghana, right now. And so we are international organization, and I'm calling you to our convention next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's going to be bad. And at this convention, we'll be laying out how you come into political life, how you organize wherever you are to bring your friends, your co-workers, your wife, your significant other, whoever into political life, building branches so we can organize for peace, bread, and Black power. I appreciate being here. I appreciate this opportunity. I consider it an honor. And comrades, it's our time. Someone dropped the link there for me. Thank you, Kota, for dropping that link there. So the link for the convention is right there for you to check that out. And, you know, come to the convention. Learn more about the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement. Ain't nothing like the Uhuru Movement, because it's not what we say, it's what we do. because talk is cheap. Action is everything. And we are about action. We about building a new world, not waiting for somebody to give us permission, but we taking it and we doing it now. So it's your job to do your part. And so I just want to turn it back over to the program, and just really appreciate Director Akile for giving me this opportunity. And I just want to say one thing, another thing about, coming into political life, and the prison system, it don't just affect the prisoner, it affects the whole community, not even just the family, but the whole community is impacted by these prison systems. It tears our family apart. We lose confidence in each other. It rips us up from the seams because we didn't have no money before they went to jail. And then they go there and we have less. And being isolated from your loved ones like that, it tears you apart in a tremendous way. So it's our job. It is our job to make sure that we get the Burning Spear newspaper into these prisons, that we make all these prisoners members of our organization and bring them into political life and impact the family on the outside. So when they come together, they know that we are not each other's enemy, but our enemy is the same enemy we had 600 years ago. So I, again, want to just say, I really am on fire, and I am really appreciate all of this. And so when we on fire, it means that we are called to action. And remember, you have been called. What are you going to do? Uhuru.
Uhuru, President Kalumbai. That was Kalumbai Internet of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Really want to appreciate that electrifying presentation. And we're about to tell you what you can do in just a moment. We've been telling you a little bit throughout the program, but we're about to dig into it real serious. But I didn't want to go past this without just really appreciating, saluting this presentation. And this is the, showing the party then and now. And the party is taking on these really critical questions in the form of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement and so much more. We're not just having this program as a matter to study history, but we're, seeing the work that's happening, what needs to be done today. President Kalumbai just mentioned how masses of people are rising up everywhere, rejecting US imperialism, rejecting the colonial capitalist system. And what's essential here in this period is organization. And it's organization guided by a revolutionary theory of African internationalism. And the spear is our weapon to transform the colonies into communities of African working class, African internationalist intellectuals. That is the job, the task of the Burning Spear newspaper during this time where there's all this unrest, where there's all this resistance to this social system. This is the period, as Kalumbai stated, this is our time. And we have work to do, which this is your opportunity now to contribute to the program. So if we could please bring up, to show people how they can support the Burning Spear. So again, this is the Burning Spear newspaper presenting Black August. Next. So we are calling on you to keep the spear burning and calling on you to donate today. If you cannot donate today, you can make a pledge, but we are calling on people to donate today. And we're going to show you a couple of ways of how you can accomplish that. Next. So our goal, first of all, tonight is $2,000. So all of you watching, whether you're on Zoom, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, we have a goal to raise $2,000 tonight. And this is such a doable goal. This goal goes to the overall Black August Fund Drive goal, where we are building this program, the Mafundi Lake sponsored prisoner program, which we'll talk about in great depth in just a moment. So we'll go to next slide. So here is how, next slide, please. Sorry. Okay, so here is how you can donate. So the one that we're really pushing, the first one online, theburningspear.com/donate. Do it from your phone, do it from your tablet, do it from your computer. In fact, I don't mind you taking a moment to step away from the Zoom in order to make this contribution. Go to theburningspear.com/donate, make a contribution right now. You can also become a subscriber to the Burning Spear newspaper. It's $25 for a 1-year subscription, either print or digital or both, and you get a percentage knockoff if you get both a print and digital. So you can go to theburningspear.com/subscribe. We currently print 12 issues in the year. So you guys can get all those issues either delivered straight to your door or sent directly to you online. So you can become a subscriber. If you're a little old fashioned, you still have a checkbook, or you have some cash, you have money order, and you want to send that in, you can do that. You can mail it and make checks out to the Burning Spear. Our address is 1245 18th Avenue South, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33705. I'm gonna leave that information up for you for just a little longer so you can jot that down if you need it. But that is the mailing address. So again, cash donations, if you wanna write a check or money order and send it that way, go ahead and mail it to our offices and again, make it out to the Burning Spear. And we're calling on you to become a distributor, become an organizer in your community, a leader in your community by selling the spear in your community, or go to local businesses that you think might be receptive to the message that the spear is promoting and have stores carry the spear. And you can do this at burningspearmarketplace.com. You can become a distributor. $15 gets you 25 spears and the bundles go up from there. So depending on how many spears you think you can get out, hold spear studies, invite your friends and family over, make that your initial customer base, but you can sell the spear, become a leader in your community by becoming a distributor today. So again, these are all of the ways that you can contribute to the Burning Spear today and contribute to this overall $2,000 goal. Again, theburningspear.com/donate. Make that something that's already, in your tab, in your browser, whatever. You're just ready to hit that submit button. Next. So we have also launched a new program where people can sustain the spear. So you can make a monthly donation to the spear at an amount of your choosing, a recurring donation that happens. Bourgeois newspapers, have their own sustaining programs. So we have opened up the process for the people to support their paper every month, making a monthly contribution of your choosing. If you go to theburningspear.com/donate, you will see that option to either do a one-time donation or to make a sustaining donation. So we really want to encourage sustaining donations. So again, you can do all of that at theburningspear.com/donate. So you can become a sustainer or you can donate one time. We appreciate both. We really want to push for ongoing support, the monthly sustainer of the Burning Spear, your paper. Next. So just to let you know, you do get some give backs for when you donate to the spear. We got you. So if you become today a $5 a month sustainer or contribute $50 one time, this is the official African People's Socialist Party flag, the African Nation flag. You'll get this flag enamel pin, and these pins look really good on your militant denim jackets, or, even, on any shirt, any kind of button up. I love to put them on my backpack, so people are back to school, you might be in college, and you want to flaunt this enamel pin. So $5 a month or $50 one time today will get you this APSP party flag enamel pin. And you can represent, again, for just $5 a month or $50 one time. Next. If you become a $10 a month sustainer or donate $120 one time, you will receive a Burning Spear struggle bag. So this bag right here is really essential for all spear sellers, but it can also be essential to anybody who doesn't like to use plastic bags, who, one of those bags you can go grocery shopping with. This is really like really great bag that has like all these compartments where you can put pins. People who are going out and organizing can carry your spears, your clipboards, your contact sheets, your flyers, your pins, everything. I mean, this is the bag to do it. So you get the bag and you get the flag enamel pin. So again, $10 a month or $120 one time, and the bag and the pin are yours. Next. Then we have for $20 a month or $200 one-time donation. So you see where we're going with this. So every time you go up, you get all the previous items plus an extra added item. So this yellow and black, or black and yellow, Burning Spear t-shirt. So right here, this is the ultimate Burning Spear sellers pack right here. You have your logo represented. You show them, this is who I am. This is what I represent. You have your spear tote bag and you have your enamel pin. So $20 a month or $200 one-time donation gets you this spear t-shirt, this flag enamel pin, and your Burning Spear struggle bag. And next, for $100 a month or $1,000 one-time donation. And I just want to say for the $1,000 one-time donation, you can do that in increments. You don't have to drop $1,000, but if you want to commit $1,000 over the year, we, you can pledge that, or, say what you are able to do towards that pledge each month. But $100 a month or $1,000 one-time donation gets you the t-shirt, the flag enamel pin, the tote bag, and you also get this beautiful maroon and gold Burning Spear hoodie. It's getting chilly for some folks in the world, so we're getting into those winter months, and this is going to be really essential for especially those who be getting hit real hard with snow, to be able to carry out your spear sales even when it's a little brisk. So you get this maroon and gold hoodie, your black and yellow spear t-shirt, your spear struggle bag, and your flag enamel pin. $100 a month or $1,000 one-time donation. Again, you can make that in increments. So right now, what I'm gonna do, next slide, is to see which level can you do. So I wanna just open it up right now, and also in this process, acknowledge those who have donated. So go ahead in the chat, say which level can you do? Which can anybody do the either $100 a month or the $1,000? Drop that in the chat now, and I will be looking for that to acknowledge you. And it might seem like a large amount, but I know that there are people who do have access to those resources and, can make that kind of contribution. So if you are one of those people, and again, you're on here recognizing the significance of the spear, the work that this paper has done over the last, over 5 decades, this is a really important contribution that you will be making to sustain this program. So anybody can do that $1,000. Drop it into the comment section, so we can shout you out, and we can put it towards the goal. And just to say, from this evening, we've had Comrade Sandra in Oregon donate $100. So Huru, thank you, Comrade Sandra. We have Comrade Penny, Chairwoman Penny Hess of the African People Solidarity Committee, who donated $25 today. Huru, Chairwoman Penny, thank you so much. We have Comrade Sayero, who is an amazing volunteer with the SPEAR team, and did some really important outreach work for the overall Black August campaign, and pledged $25. So Huru, thank you, Comrade Sayero. We have Comrade Lisa in Minneapolis, who donated $250. Huru, Lisa, or pledged $250. Thank you, Huru, Lisa. We have President Kalumbai, who you just heard from, who pledged $25. So Huru, thank you, President Kalumbai. We have Comrade Matsamela, who pledged $100 a month. That man said he wants that hoodie, that t-shirt, that bag, and that enamel pin. So be like Matsamela. If anybody can, do that $100 a month, please let us know in the comment section. We have Comrade Soliana, who became a new $20 a month sustainer out of Virginia. You guys saw Soliana. So Huru, thank you, Comrade Soliana. And we have Chairman Omali Ishatella, the leader and founder of the African People's Socialist Party, who we've talked so much about, and the founder of the Burning Spear newspaper, with $25. So Huru, salute, thank you, Chairman, for your support of the Burning Spear. So keep those donations coming. So, okay, if we don't have, so we have Matsamela with the $1,000 pledge, and want to see if anybody can match him. If not, we'll go ahead and move to the level that was below that, which was the $20 a month or $200 one-time donation. So who has the $200 one-time donation or $20 a month? So who has that? Calling on you. So $20 a month or $200 one-time donation. And remember, you get that t-shirt, that enamel pin, and your struggle bag. So if you can do that, again, indicate in the chat section. Indicate that in the chat section on Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. We have Comrade Karpani with $25. Uhuru Karpani, thank you so much for your contribution in Bayside, California. Uhuru, thank you. Okay, I'm seeing things come in, I'm sorry. All right, so we're going to go to the next level, which was $10 a month or $120 one-time donations. You get your struggle bag and your enamel pin. So $120 one time or $10 a month sustainer. I'm a $10 a month sustainer myself. And can anybody match me? $10 a month sustainer of the Burning Spear. So who can do that? $10 a month. And, you know, I went ahead and bit the bullet. I canceled my Hulu subscription because I was like, I don't need that anymore. I got plenty of streaming services. So I canceled my Hulu and was like, I'm going to become a Burning Spear sustainer. And so $10 a month for this incredible revolutionary history, or $120 one time. And that Spear Struggle bag and that enamel pin can be yours. And we have, let's see, Comrade Mads, $30 pledge, Uhuru, thank you, Mads. We heard from Mads earlier today. And Comrade Michael in El Cajon, California with $25. Uhuru, thank you, Michael. So looks like we are $230 away from our goal, just $230 away from the overall goal. So go ahead and make those contributions. Go ahead and let's take us all the way there. And the last level, do I have people who can put $5 on it? $5 a month, 5 on it, or $50 one time, get you that flag, that APSP party enamel pin, put $5 on it every single month, $5 a month, or $50 one time. Do I have any $5 sustainers here? $5 sustainers, drop that into the comment section. Soliana said, cancel that HBO Max. Right. You don't need that show. I'm pretty sure you can find ways to stream that stuff. So, wink, wink. Anyway, so who can do $5 a month sustainer or $50 one-time donation? Again, indicate in the chat section. Let us know what you can do. And we have Comrade Renee in Philadelphia with $25. Uhuru, Comrade Renee. Thank you so much. And we have Comrade Raya, who is a veteran of the African People's Solidarity Committee. Comrade Raya in Chicago became a $5 a month sustainer. Uhuru Raya, thank you so much. So we have a $5 sustainer. Who else is going to become one today? We have Comrade Mercer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. $50 one-time donations. Uhuru Mercer, thank you so much. We have Comrade Michael, who says he can also do $20 a month. Got to keep the Burning Spear alive. You ain't said nothing but a word. Uhuru, thank you so much. Also, in terms of people who left comments, we had Comrade Sandra, who said, long live Omowale Kefing, long live the African People's Socialist Party. And Omowale Kefing was referenced in brief in Comrade Matsumela's presentation. Our late Omowale Kefing was a dear comrade, hero of the African Revolution, a veteran of the African People's Socialist Party, and, you know, I mean, just one of the greatest drivers to the Burning Spear, I think that it has ever seen up to now, and was our political editor and is always in memoriam. So just want to salute and appreciate Comrade Omowale Kefing, and just recognize that Sandra made this contribution in his honor. So Huru. So let's go ahead and move forward, but I just want to, again, appreciate all the donations coming in. Don't stop. Please let us know what you want to do, because I'm not done with you yet. Next slide. So the Mafundi Lake Sponsor Prisoner Program, we've talked about these really important campaigns, and for the sake of time, I'm actually not going to have the video play today, but you can find the video on our YouTube channel, Burning Spear TV on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost to 10K subscribers. So subscribe to the Burning Spear TV on YouTube. You might already be watching on YouTube, but you will find the Mafundi Lake Sponsor Prisoner Program video there. But we've talked about these incredible historic campaigns to free political prisoners, and we've then also seeing the integral role that the spear has played. And we also don't discard our brothers and sisters who are locked behind these bars, where this colonial capitalist system attempts to use, the prison system as a means to crush the revolution, as a means to take our brothers and sisters, these productive forces, from our community and lock them away so that they cannot participate in our own liberation. We say we have not forgotten, we will not discard our brothers and sisters, but yet we will organize these prisons. And the spear plays a fundamental role in organizing the prisons. So I want to just talk about Mafundi Lake just a little bit more. If we could go to the next slide. Next slide, please. All right, so Mafundi Lake was one of Africa's greatest sons. He was a political prisoner who never wavered in his love and fight for African liberation. Mafundi Lake became a martyr on January 21st, 2018, after being held for weeks without his medication. Mafundi was born in 1940 and grew up in Birmingham, Alabama in the 1950s, during the height of the civil rights movement and the emergence of the Black Power Revolution. Mafundi was framed and convicted of a $34 robbery as a teenager. Kidnapped by the Sheriff Bull Connor's deputies, he was sentenced to 14 years of slave labor in the prison camps throughout the state. Next slide. It was while in prison that Mafundi truly became the incredible revolutionary organizer that he was. He built the Inmates for Action and was punished for that with 12 years in isolation. Mafundi Lake exemplified George Jackson's quote, "They will never count me among the broken men." Upon his release, Mafundi began organizing prison support organizations from the outside. Next slide. In 1979, he became the first chair of the African National Prison Organization, ANPO, built by the African People's Socialist Party. In 1983, he was framed again and imprisoned, but he maintained his revolutionary fire until the day that he died. Next slide. And as mentioned, Mafundi Lake was martyred on January 21st, 2018. So we say, long live Mafundi Lake, and this is why this program is named in honor of this comrade. So next slide, please. So we're calling on people to support the Mafundi Lake Sponsored Prisoner Program for all of the reasons that I've just stated, for everything that you've heard today, that our brothers and sisters inside these colonial concentration camps that we know as prisons are forces that can be organized under the leadership of African internationalism, organizing the prisons and advancing the African Revolution in that front. And the Burning Spear newspaper currently is shipped free to over, not even 500 anymore, over 600 prisoners throughout the US where Africans are locked up and isolated from the outside world. So those spears to those 600 prisoners go to them for free. This is what this program does. The Burning Spears Mafundi Lake Sponsored Prisoner Program provides a lifeline of news and analysis from the African internationalist perspective to any prisoner who requests it. We get letters, floods of letters to the Burning Spear office where Africans are, asking, requested to be put on the subscriber list by saying, I got this spear from somebody else. I saw we've been passing around the same paper and I want my own subscription. And we put them on the list. We don't ask any other questions. We just put them on the list. And the Burning Spear relies on donations to fund this important program. So this is why we're, really calling on you today to donate. We want you to donate specifically now to the Mafundi Lake Sponsored Prisoner Program. So next slide. To sponsor a prisoner, that's it's just as if getting your own subscription, $25 a year for one subscription. So we're doing that 600 prisoners for free. So I'm calling on you who can sponsor prisoners today, $25 one time for a 1-year subscription for one prisoner. Or you can give, more to the Mafundi Lake Sponsored Prisoner Program. But $25 today to sponsor one prisoner. And also if you have a particular person, because Africans, we know somebody who's been in prison, is in prison today. We've been in prison ourselves, so there's somebody among us that we know could use this spear. So if there's somebody, a relative, friend, family member, whomever that you believe needs to be getting this paper and they're locked up, you can have them added to our list. You can sponsor them as well. So $25, 1 year subscription, and it doesn't run out in a year for our brothers and sisters in prison. So it's an ongoing thing, but $25, that's what we ask to sponsor prisoners. So if you can do $25 today to sponsor a prisoner, indicate that in the chat. Again, Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. So we've already acknowledged Comrade Mercer, so thank you. I want to acknowledge and salute this person who made this contribution, somebody very dear to us, Comrade Sister Carolyn Waney and Jerry Lake. And Sister Carolyn is the wife of Mfundi Lake, and just want to really appreciate, just the ongoing support of the Burning Spear newspaper. And, I just really want to salute this sister so much, and, her continued work in support of the Uhuru movement. And just really appreciate your contribution of $200 to the Spear. Thank you so much, Sister Carolyn. We really appreciate you, and we salute you so much. And we say again, long live Mfundi Lake. And we also have Comrade Aisha Fields, who is the director of the All African People's Development and Empowerment Project. Comrade Aisha Fields is pledging $20. So thank you, Comrade Dr. Aisha Fields, for your pledge. And so I know people are still in the process of either donating or saying how much they pledged. So I'll announce our totals following as we conclude our program. But we have one more person that needs to speak, and that is Comrade Sister. Oh, my bad. Actually, let me backtrack. Before I introduce the sister, I do want to also recognize the forces on the Spear staff who were not present or pictured today. We saw some faces, but there are many more who make the Spear happen. And just wanted to shout out Comrade Nyabinga, who's actually one of our engineers today, who is a political editor and, just longtime member and supporter of the Uhuru movement. So thank you, Comrade Binga, our political editor, Comrade Sandy, who's also on our engineering team, our secretary and layout editor. We have Comrade Lisa, who was our Black August project coordinator, Comrade Clara, one of our proofreaders out in the Philippines. So Huru Clara, Comrade Kota, copy editor and proofreader, a long time for the Spear, Comrade Len, member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, African People's Solidarity Committee, contributor to the White Solidarity with Black Power column, and one of our proofreaders. We have Comrade Zach, who is also one of our proofreaders, Comrade Gas Mask, who is on our layout team, Comrade Nyendu, who is a veteran of the African People's Socialist Party and was a member of one of the founding organizations that would come together to form the party, Black Rights Fighters out in Fort Myers. And he's also our photo editor. We have Comrade Sayero, who you've been seeing in the comments, lighting it up, who was on our phone banking team for the Black August campaign and will play more critical roles in the future with the Spear. And we also have some great translators and graphic artists who are on our team that don't wish to be named, but we know who they are. So I just want to salute this incredible Burning Spear staff. They are the ones that make this paper happen every single month. So Huru salute to you. And you can be a part of this team. You can join this team. And Comrade Renata is going to tell you how. Renata is our NTU program coordinator. So Renata, tell the people how they can join, volunteer with the Spear team. Huru. Oh, you're muted. Hold up. Can't hear you. There you go.
All right, Uhuru. So I just want to really appreciate all the panelists that we had today. You guys, presented such excellent facts and historical facts. So I want to first appreciate my leadership, chairman of the leader of the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement, Chairman Amalia Shatella, for being committed to seeing a unified and liberated Africa and African people. Salute to Deputy Chair Onizanaia Shatella for her strong revolutionary leadership. I want to salute Director Akile for the introduction and great leadership over the Department of Agitation and Propaganda and the Burning Spear Media. As said, I am Renata. I am the NTU volunteer coordinator out of the Office of Agitation and Propaganda. And I gotta let you know that, this program that you just witnessed this evening was presented by a host of exceptional volunteers throughout the Burning Spear Media and the Uhuru movement. So this is a piece from the NTU program of why you should volunteer. Volunteers are the heart and soul of the Uhuru movement, and we need you. Don't let people tell you that you cannot change the world. Join us in building a world with a free and independent Africa and African people. What kind of world would you want to leave for your next generation? What legacy, what personal legacy do you want to leave behind? The Uhuru movement is doing important work for African people in your city, in your state, in Africa, and throughout the world. We need you. We need your time, your skills, your passion, your life experience, and your special talents. The Uhuru Volunteer Brigade gets engaged into your community. It gets you engaged into your community. It allows you to develop your skills, introduce you to new people and new experiences, fosters an understanding of the critical nature of grassroots activism, and gives you the opportunity to learn things through practice that cannot be learned in a classroom. With the Uhuru Volunteer Brigade, your time, your talent, your energy will not be wasted. We will make a difference together. So I need you to join this Uhuru Volunteer Brigade, and you can do so by going to theburningspear.com/get-involved. So let's build and let's, carry this revolutionary spear, Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Renata. So when you sign up, thank you so much. This again is our volunteer program coordinator for Burning Spear Media. So this is the person that's going to be contacting you when you do sign up to volunteer on the Spear team. So again, that's theburningspear.com/get-involved. Because if you loved everything you heard today and you want to be a part of contributing to the forward motion of the Burning Spear, then you need to join this team. And we talked about, we have Spear team members, in various parts of the world, contributing to the overall mission. We've had forces in Brazil and on the continent of Africa, currently as mentioned, in the Philippines. So no matter where it is you're located in the world, this paper is your paper. You can contribute to a success, and you can do that by donating, your resources in terms of money and your time, your energy, your skills. So thank you, Renata, for that call. And I just wanted to, again, extend that opportunity for people to support the Spear another way by volunteering for it. So, comrades, what an incredible program. In fact, I can't believe we've done all the things we've done up to now. I just really want to express my appreciation for my leadership, Chairman Amalia Shatella, and also Comrade Deputy Chair Onizane Shatella, and all of the presenters up to now, President Kalumbai of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, who just lit this webinar up. Again, salute to Indigo, who we heard that amazing cultural performance from, and our Spear staff members, Matsamela, Soliana, and Mads, for putting together these incredible, powerful presentations tonight. And I really want to salute and appreciate all of you who attended this evening. And you guys can continue to share this event, share this information with your friends and family. Again, subscribe to the Burning Spear TV on YouTube. And really want to just appreciate the support and through donations to the Spear tonight and helping us to raise, and I will announce the total now. But first I have to acknowledge Comrade Angelica, who pledged $200. So Huru Angelica, thank you so much for your pledge. We have Day One Don Diva on YouTube, who pledges to become a $10 a month sustainer. So Huru, Day One Don Diva, thank you so much on YouTube. And we have Comrade Kobina, and on behalf of the APSP Southern Region, with $250 to contribute. So who pledged $250. So I really want to appreciate all of you. You don't have to stop just because the program is nearing its end. You don't have to stop supporting the paper that supports you. But I know you guys are interested in hearing this goal. So we started out for the goal to raise $2,000 tonight. And I am ecstatic to announce that we raised $3,080. So woo, I know everybody can't, there's not like a big audience behind me, but I know you're screaming, I'm screaming. So really just want to appreciate you all making it possible to exceed our goal by $1,080. And as I'm saying this, more is coming in. Comrade Fofi with $25. So that brings us to $3,150. $5 going towards Black August and keeping the spear burning. Y'all comrades are not playing. You know, when we say, you know, show your support and love for the Burning Spear, the oldest institution of the Uhuru movement, you guys really did that tonight. So just really, again, can't thank you all enough for your contributions to this program. Again, to all of my speakers who, you know, just laid out this really profound history, all of the engineers who are making this event possible for you tonight, our leadership. Oh, we have another one. We have Sherry in Ohio with $120. Uhuru, Sherry, thank you so much. In Ohio, Sherry in Ohio with 100. They're saying it might be Don Diva. Okay, well, we'll work that out. But anyway, thank you so much. Either or, thank you so much for this contribution. And again, helping us make it over our $2,000 goal towards our overall Black August fund drive to keep the spear burning. So comrades, that's all I have for you this evening. Thank you all for sticking with us throughout the entire program. It really was dynamic. And we just want to say free them all and keep the spear burning. Uhuru, vanguard up, salute to the African People's Socialist Party. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. And I also wanted to join with President Columbai in the call for people to register for the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement Annual Convention, where we'll be celebrating 30 years of existence. Register for the convention at tinyurl.com/Impedum Convention 2021. The theme is it's 2021, African Workers Unite. Let's get it done. You can hear from Chairman Amalia Shatella, President Columbai, Matsamela, and many more on that program. So don't forget to register for the Impedum Convention. That's September 3rd through the 5th. So now I will close. Donate to the spear today. Keep the spear burning, Uhuru comrades. And thank you so much. It's been an honor to charge this program and be with you all.